Hey y'all, here are OS Reviews. In this video, we're taking a quick look at the GANCube Swift Block. This is the WiSlide, and some of you guys may remember that about a year ago, we checked out the Geiger Super Slide. This is basically acting as a competitor for lovers of brain teaser type products. And Geiger is an ecosystem brand from Xiaomi. They've also made other products including electronic Rubik's Cubes or Smart Cubes that you can also connect via Bluetooth to your smartphone to more quickly learn and solve a Rubik's Cube, as well as record your time to completion, automatically getting tracked on the companion app. So digitizing some of those classic puzzle type products and having a more modern aesthetic going on, in this particular instance being kind of this slider type game. You not only have the classic tiles in terms of just shapes that you can rearrange until you get into the end goal, very similar again to the Super Slide, but you also get the number puzzle pieces as a secondary game of rearranging these into their numeric order instead. So you can challenge yourself in a few more ways, and this time around it has a color LCD screen. And one other advantage of the Swift Block alternative is it has built-in Bluetooth, so you're able to connect it to the companion app on either Android or iOS, and that allows you to also record your scores as well as watch back tutorials, compared to the Super Slide from Geiger was actually not really compatible via Bluetooth. There is no communication between the phone and the actual game board, which is something that is different on the Swift Block, a little bit more similar to the Geiger Rubik's Cube in that sense. And the design still looks, I think, pretty cute in a retro way. It almost reminds me of some of the retro game consoles. The packaging is also done quite well, and they claim there is interactivity as well as an online community that you're able to share and compete against in terms of scores, endless challenges, and it recharges on this model using a lithium-ion cell, and you can plug it in using USB Type-C, compared to the Super Slide actually took AA batteries to operate. So this one here has the advantage of being, again, rechargeable using a standard USB cable. So in the box here we have the actual game puzzle / handheld console itself. We have the optional number pieces and also a quick user guide, plus a soft carrying pouch to protect everything when you're on the go. And inside of the pouch, by the way, there is also going to be 2 additional pieces. So depending on the level that you're playing, you can swap out these larger pieces with these 2. And otherwise, a quick glimpse at their product page here. They're claiming this to be, again, a alternative to the classic slider type board games typically made out of wood from yesteryear, now making it in a hybrid digital, in addition to still having some mechanical pieces down below that you can use, compared to, again, if you are just playing a game like this on your phone, there is no tactile sensation that you're getting from actually moving the pieces around like on a Rubik's Cube. So you have a little bit more of that mechanical feel. You're not necessarily just staring at a screen while you're playing it, and that can be, again, an advantage of something like this, designed for both kids as well as adults. And it looks like the Super Slide does have a quote-unquote AI tutorial, essentially hints that tell you what to do next if you're getting stuck. Interestingly, you can also compete against online players if you're connecting it to your phone via Bluetooth, and then it finds a match, kind of similar to smart chessboards with something like chess.com. You're able to time yourself and see how many moves, how long it's taking you to solve a puzzle versus an opponent. They also claim that the mechanical feels of all the pieces have been optimized. They're smooth for the sliding action, while being still portable enough to kind of carry around if you are on the go. So just a closer look at the console. It's constructed out of polycarbonate plastic, and it feels actually pretty solid. Nothing really flexes as you're gripping it. It is indeed pretty slim and relatively easy just to slide into kind of a larger laptop sleeve or a backpack. And again, all the pieces here are magnetic, so if you are flipping them around, they're not going to necessarily fall out that easily, which is good, having a bit of friction to it. The back here features some soft touch rubber feet that prevents it from sliding around on the surface or desk, along with the loudspeaker. And otherwise, we have on the very bottom just the USB Type-C port for charging, and that is it. So if we go ahead and turn on the unit by tapping on the green key, you'll see the display here light up correspondingly. And I will say that it's not the brightest screen in the world, but in most indoor conditions, you should still be relatively fine. Again, it's a color LCD screen compared to on The Super Slide from Geiger was actually using kind of a pixel art type display. It only shows essentially the colors of all the squares and icons that you're supposed to align when you are playing back the levels. It doesn't actually display any text information since it has fewer pixels compared to a conventional LCD screen. Now we have the battery icon on the very top. We can navigate up and down, pretty tactile, to play back the classic mode as well as the number mode. And then under settings, if you tap on green, we can change the language of the menus here, and here are a couple of options that we have. Swiping all the way down, we can tap on red here to go back, as well as on here we can adjust the brightness of the screen a little bit higher, and that might be slightly easier to see with a bit of ambient light around you, as well as the volume adjustment. If you want to disable this or mute the sound, you can also do that. And finally, some device information as well. So let's go all the way back here. Pretty simple to operate, and starting off with the classic mode, it also remembers, of course, which games you have solved in the past, as well as the score that you accomplished, similar to, again, other puzzle games, even something like Angry Bird. You can get up to 3 of these gems if you've completed it in the least amount of moves, as well as time that is designated for that particular level. So if we wanted to tap on 1, for example, it'll start off with something like this, which is basically the starting state of the board that you have to arrange the tiles in. So it's telling us that there are 2 tiles that we have to leave open on the left-hand corner of our board. It has sensors on the magnet, so it knows if there are pieces in the corresponding spots as intended or not. And once all the pieces are in their correct spot, as you can tell here, we can then tap on the green button here to begin the level, and then we can begin to push the tiles around. As you can tell there's an icon towards the very bottom here that indicates this is the location where you want to have the large block in at the end for you to then proceed onto the next level. And there we go. It tells us that we completed this in X number of moves, as well as the time that it took us to complete this. We can then go over to the next level. So overall, it's pretty easy to use, and I have to say the mechanical feel of the tiles is quite comparable to the Geiger Super Slide, which is to say it is very satisfying. The whole feeling is almost reminiscent of a mechanical keyboard and how you get that sound and tactile sensation as you are flicking all the pieces around. What I will say is you do have to unlock the levels in sequential order. So there's no way of jumping into level, let's say 99, before you complete all the levels from 1 to 98 before it. So that is one thing to keep in mind, but otherwise quite easy to use. And then if we do a quick demo here of the number puzzle, you can choose between 8 or 15 for a slightly higher complexity. Let's start with just 8. All right, so I've arranged the board to the correct starting state, and then we'll tap on begin. Once I make my first move, again, the timing will automatically start, but the goal here is to move the blocks from sequential order to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And actually, before we start, I do have to still pop in some additional pieces down below, which corresponds to locked zones that you're not able to just flexibly move into, otherwise it would be just a little bit too easy. So if we go ahead and pop in these particular blockers or stoppers, and then we can proceed. So basically we have, in total, just 1 slot that we're able to use for sliding all the digits around. And there we go. This level has been completed in 10 moves, and we can then go on to the next level. So obviously it will start off relatively simple and get progressively harder as you go. Increasing the column and row count will of course make it even more challenging from there. Let's take a quick look at the companion app next. And the process of pairing is also relatively quick. As long as you have Bluetooth as well as location services turned on, you should be able to then locate the board in just a second or so. And the UI style is also done in this kind of retro theme with some of these icons as well as accents there in orange that I do quite like. I think it fits the overall aesthetic quite well. You can also read back some recommended guides and tutorials of how to master the classic Klotski game. So this will actually be an animated tutorial that tells you how to move the pieces around, how to play. Interestingly enough, you can also trigger some recommended levels on the very top here that will then trigger a game state that you can replicate on the board, as you can tell there. Once you're satisfied, you can then begin the game. And under Classic, it looks like you're able to select specific levels that you want to play, and then you have that available on the board side as well. So it's an alternative to the level-based system that is built on in, which requires you again to go from level to level, unlocking harder ones as you go. But on here, it seems like you can jump around a little bit more. And what's a little strange is under Classic, they have named all of the levels as, it almost looks like novel titles, and it's calling them The Three Brothers Fight Against so on and so forth. Drawing a sword is almost like some type of fantasy setting, which is inspired by the Chinese Three Kingdoms period, it appears. So it has this kind of narrative structure, although I'm not too sure what that has to do with the specific puzzles. I guess they're saying that the formation maybe is reminiscent of certain kind of war battles that they are putting the tiles against, and that's how they came up with the arrangements, which is certainly an interesting twist that I haven't seen before, but there you have it. You can also go into a practice mode, which it looks like will also give you a automatically generated arrangement every single time that you tap inside for you to play back. And there's also the stages of play, which is going to be very similar to what we saw there from before on the board. This will sync the level information over, so it knows that we have already reached level 2. And there's a bit more animation work going on here. As you get progressively into more and more levels, you unlock these grids. So on the level-based play, you aren't able to get into the later stages even on the app. It's really only that strange kind of narrative or classic tile that you're able to jump around if you want to try your hand at a harder level, even if you're just starting out. Now there's also the one-on-one play, which is again battling against another opponent that is online. You can tap to add a friend or auto match, and you're also able to see your records and jump into different stages, battling against, and see your battle streak information as well, making it a little bit more interactive. Kind of neat, I have to say. Now, at the very bottom here, you can also take a look at the Community tab, which seems to act as a forum of sorts. There's one called the Klotski World Group. Welcome to the world. This group is dedicated to establishing close connections, so on and so forth. It's kind of just a forum where a lot of the different news, as well as maybe software updates, are going to be shared. Under different categories, you're able to also trigger if there's any questions that people are asking. So I can also click on the number puzzle, and it's going to be very similar to the Klotski, where once again we have the practice. We can go into a 3x3 stage, which once again goes into this level-based format. As we proceed into more levels, it will sync that information over. There's also the 4x4 stage. It requires, again, all the tiles to be popped in, and again, the one-on-one battle with an online community member function can also be triggered. So you can practice both for the number mode as well as the classic Klotski mode. And during the gameplay, you can also trigger the AI tutorial on the app here on the bottom. So it looks like there's 5 chances left per day that will then refresh. Some of the prompts still seem to be in Chinese though, which is interesting, not fully translated, but we can tap on OK. It tells us in this particular state we should start off by moving this piece forward. And a subsequent clue might be shifting this particular piece onto the side, as you can tell, so on and so forth. This tells you an optimal strategy for solving this particular level, which is pretty cool, and good that these kind of cheats, so to speak, will be able to reset at the end of each day. You have up to 5 of these available. And there we have it. So this particular AI basically will always know what's going to be the best next move depending on how you're moving the board around, which is neat. It knows where all the pieces are placed. So you have to trigger this from the app if you want to look at the hints. It seems like this function, if you want to check out the hints if you're stuck, isn't going to be available on the game board itself. So that is one thing to keep in mind. So that is more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the GANCube Swift Block WiSlide. Actually kind of an interesting name there, because GANCube, I have to say my first impression hearing that company's name, I thought it was some type of charger company, because power banks these days are often powered by GaN or gallium nitride. But no, this is a company that is an alternative to Geiger. They specialize in smart puzzle game products like this one. But regardless of that name, I have to say this is a smarter alternative to the Geiger Super Slide. The Bluetooth connection allows you to compete against other players over the internet, which is actually pretty neat, not to mention that there are more modes, such as the number mode that you can rearrange the tiles in, or the classic Klotski mode, whereas the Super Slide only had that classic Klotski method of playing. So this is definitely more versatile, and overall it works quite well. Very simple product at the end of the day, but again, if you're looking for a way to have a more interactive, mechanical way to game and also take a break from staring at your phone screen, and you want to also kind of train your brain a little bit in terms of thinking through these puzzle type games, I think this is actually a pretty neat alternative to consider. You can learn more details in the links down below if interested, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the GANCube Swift Block WiSlide.